I'm going to call the July 6th meeting of the Stormwater Committee to order. It is a public meeting being being audio recorded. The only video is a picture of the American flag and the town flag. It's being recorded for cable broadcast and internet posting on www.dayton-ma.gov and YouTube. Attendance, Agia.
I'm sorry, evaluation superintendent. Not knowing stormwater agent. She's Grassy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Roslyn Grassy, office manager.
Nancy Goulat, Chairman. We just have enough for a quorum today. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a special meeting as a follow-up to the meeting we had, the regular meeting in July, when we only had a quorum for a limited period of time. So we're going to try to wrap up the rest of the stuff that was on that agenda. And the next regular meeting will be July 20th. Mrs. Grassy?
Sorry. July 20th, correct.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item 3A, review, discuss, act, update on the Stonegate Landing development. Does anybody have anything on Stonegate? I can tell you that I attended a meeting of the, another meeting of the zoning board, at which time they continued the hearing because the ZBA wants to know if there are taxes owed. And based on the information so far, there are taxes owed. The amount of money that's been mentioned is in dispute by the attorney representing Stonegate or Able Realty. I'm not really sure who she's representing, or both of them, both parties. We know definitely that the February and May taxes for this year have not been paid, so that's enough to continue this thing. There is an audit being conducted between the tax collector's office and the Board of Assessors office. And I requested a number of documents so that we can get this all figured out. Other than that, I think they still want to get back before the ZBA, but I have no idea when that's going to happen because the ZBA is adamant that the taxes have to be paid. So based on everything they've said so far, again, the audit's ongoing and I don't have a definitive answer yet, but we'll keep this on the agenda for an update each month. Mrs. Grassy, please. Agenda item 3B, we discuss that Wellington Acres, schedule a site visit. We had a site visit scheduled for the 18th and I'm not going to be able to make that.
Neither can the attorney for the.
Actually, we got me this morning. He said the 18th is not good for site visit. Could we do the 19th, no later than 3 p.m. and the 20th, which is our meeting before 1 p.m.
Okay, what are the feelings of the committee? Do you want to do it on the day of the meeting so you're not tied up 2 days? If we did it on the 20th, say at 10 in the morning?
I can't make it.
On what, the 19th or the 20th? Works for you?
19th's better for you?
Works for me. Just before 1 o'clock.
I have a couple of meetings with Mike on the 19th. That's not what the time right now. sure I can move things around.
Would it be in July, probably earlier?
Well, Mike doesn't like it when you change meeting times.
So what time are we looking at on the 19th?
Like 10 a.m.
What about the afternoon?
I have a meeting in North 1 to 3.
No. Mr. Ferry, time on the 19th?
Fine.
What's better for you, Mr. Aguirre?
Sorry, I don't have to go up.
The 19th is 11 a.m.
Right.
Yeah, 11 a.m.
Okay.
Check
Okay. So what time did you say in the afternoon?
He can't make afternoon.
Oh.
How about, so
11.
We could do 10 a.m. Oh, no, I can't do 10 a.m. Oh,
what day, we're talking about the 19th?
I have a,
wait. On the 19th, that's a Tuesday?
Mhm.
we have a meeting at 11, right?
Yeah, we could do 10.
Yeah, we can do 10.
Or 9:30.
Yeah.
Do a little more time.
Yeah.
You don't care, right? You're up. 9:30 work for you?
9:30, okay, Tom?
Yeah.
All right, so Raj, would you post that site visit for 9:30? Wellington Acres?
Last meeting, you said you were gonna meet at the common septic. Is that still the?
That we'd park there.
Right, general place to park there for 5 or 6 cars.
Yes, there's a gravel road, access to the subject. We can park on the gravel road.
Yeah, I don't know what this is.
Sounds right.
What's on that side?
When you go and take a right,
I thought that the file was the conservation,
sorry,
wasn't that originally a conservation subdivision?
it still is.
Or, no, I meant on the northern side that actually on.
Yes, but that's the park, it's the only place we can park in that subdivision without. Some of the-
I'm not sure where it is either. Remember the time I was up there and I got lost and I called you?
It's connected, sorry, so same way.
Yeah, it'd be better if we talk a little bit.
Yeah, if somebody wants to meet here, we go from here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll plan to come here.
So there you know. There we get some work. Open it up.
I'm sorry, I'm not following. The shared septic system is wide open. Yes.
Isn't the
But
purpose,
that's what this is about. No.
no, isn't the purpose of this is they want to turn this over to the town and have the roads accepted?
Yes.
But the HOA is responsible for the drainage and the septic.
So we're just looking to take the park, we're gonna walk the entire subdivision, stormwater construction. So we can make a recommendation as to whether that's the planning board, whether or not we're amenable to this.
Is 9:30 good or should we be talking 9?
9 a.m. 11 o'clock meeting, that we sure I was important, so.
9 o'clock, Mrs. Grassi on the 19th. Okay. So anyone that's going to leave from here, if we're here at 8:50, the rest of them will meet up in the woods. All right. Mrs. Grassi, would you check with the Board of Selectmen and just see if they are going to take any action on the 13th to appoint anyone to the Stormwater Committee, because we've only got 5 members. Well, we don't even have 5 members at this point.
So if the Board of Selectmen are going to appoint someone?
Well, the first thing that's got to happen is that both boards, the planning board has an item on their agenda not to participate in Stormwater Committee anymore. That's what I'm told. And we got to know what's happening with the Conservation Commission. In either case, both of those One's an elected board, but they've still got to notify the town clerk and the board of selectmen. And in the case of the Concom, they got to notify them that they've reorganized the committee. And so who's on the Stormwater Committee?
They didn't specify our meeting, they just specified who-
Because they've got to make a recommendation. Technically, they're going to make it to the Board of Health, who would then act on it and
Well, I
they'll
don't
send
think
it to the,
anyone's available, 'cause- but anyway,
that's not the point. They've got to act on it.
you can.
Well, your board has to.
Right.
They've got to make a decision on stormwater. If no one who is appointed to the board wants to do it, they can appoint a representative. Excuse me, they can recommend an appointment. In this case, it should go to the Board of Health. And the Board of Health, if they agree, sends it to the Board of Selectmen for the appointment.
Okay. Well, I told Jim you should send these. It's gonna be on the next agenda.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, all right.
So with all that happened, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
That would bring us to a 5-member board.
Right.
So we would only need 3 members to be. Oh, no,
Well, we still have Barbara.
Still have Barbara. Is Barbara going to continue this work?
She just couldn't. Yeah.
Right, so that'll be a 6-member board.
I've spoken to Mike, because at the last selectmen's meeting, when they made all the annual appointments, I asked him not to renew our appointments at this time, to just let them run. Because I don't think a 6-member board is workable, quite frankly. So anyhow, it'll be the last meeting in July 27th that the Board of Selectmen is supposed to have an idea of who's on first as far as the planning board and the zoning board. Planning will be done, that meeting will be done by then. And Concom is the 21st, right? Okay. So as soon as they make a decision, you got to let Mike know, because he's going to be getting that agenda out, or Leanne, or whoever's going to do it.
Do you still want me to follow up for the 13th meeting, just that they have it on the radar? The board's looking. We'll wait till conservation and plan.
We might as well wait for the both boards, committees to figure out what they're doing. But the main thing is, it's got to go to the Board of Health first. All right? And then it's got to get to the Board of Selectmen, ASAP.
So we'll I'll email you and see you later. Okay, we meet actually on the 14th. Yeah, have a nice night.
Okay, agenda item 3C, review, discuss, act, update railroad bed site visits. Mr. Pilling? This was the one we went to Mr.
Enos.
Ralph Enos.
Right,
Yes.
so we did a site walk, what was that, 2 weeks ago now, whatever, and we should discover that there have been some organic matter, like grass clippings and such, that were dumped kind of over the edge, and there was also, we'll call it construction debris, but it was just a few, like, windows and that kind of stuff. And then, was it conservation that was sending in the letter, or we sending in the letter? I thought somebody was about removing that the organic material could stay, but that the construction material needs to be removed. And that's my recommendation. Because we didn't talk about it when we were on site, but I mean, that organics has been there for 1,000 years, and he just keeps adding to it. But,
Yeah, that's what we decided. We decided with the-
yeah, I think you might have talked about it in the conservation meeting, so. So that's our, I don't know if anybody has any other thoughts about the materials that we found.
So by sending the letter to Mr. Enos, Mr. Ralph Enos, he can continue to dump grass clippings, but not into the bed.
No, it was that he doesn't have to remove the ones that are already there. We'll let the organics stay.
So what does he do with when he mows his lawn?
Oh, that's a good question.
Ralph,
The
Can-
transfer station is open for accepting yard waste.
but in another spot on his land, as long as he's not at the railroad bed, he could create a pile of grass, a compost
Like some
pile.
of his files were on flat, not on.
Right, right. So what did the Concom do on this last time? You were part of the meeting I saw, you were telling him what we had done, and you had said you didn't know what the Stormwater Committee was going to do.
Yeah.
And they were waiting. Well, the Stormwater Committee has stepped back because the Conservation Commission has taken the lead on this.
Well, as far as DEP is concerned and the neighboring property, I was on the phone with Jolly about that today. So they're at a standstill because they haven't heard from Mr. Mitchell. However, they've got all the paperwork ready and you want to have an internal meeting. So that's the next step.
Okay, so is the best thing to do to break these up by property owners so that we can maybe dispose of some of them? Like if we take care of this, Mr. Enos,
I mean, this one's far simpler than some of the others, so I think we could very easily address this one.
all right. The one off of Pleasant Street where the house sits way back and we walked back there. And when that house was built, that property owner had put stuff in there, and the current resident said he would do whatever was necessary. This is the big gray house that sits back off of Pleasant Street with a long driveway. So is the potential for that? He can clean up his side. Is he gonna have a plan drawn to clear up his side of that? Because he said, I'll do whatever I have to do. This is the place that's got the green pond with the mosquito problem. Yes,
So, yeah, again, this gets into whether it was just one person's yard waste or it's not yard waste and whatever, or construction debris that's being brought in volumes of it. And makes, to me, like stumps aren't a good thing, but the grass clippings, I think, could stay. And yeah, I think if we do this and we allow this one person to remove just the stuff that shouldn't have been there, then you're setting precedent for everybody else to do similar actions.
so I'm thinking we have the solution to the Ralph Enos property. He doesn't need a plan or anything else because what he's dealing with is not huge. So, but he's got to agree to remove the wood and the glass, whatever that stuff is. And obviously we'll do another site inspection after it's cleaned up, but he doesn't have to go engineer and draw a plan and all that.
I don't
Okay.
see the need for it.
Okay. Dr. Vought's property.
And who's gonna write the letter? Sorry. Me?
Actually, I think again, we got, what do we got? How many sites? 4 sites? 5, 1, 2, 5 sites. We got 5 sites.
I mean, I don't mind us waiting a little. It's not, it's gonna be very simple. But
You're out 2 of the next 3 weeks.
Yes.
Probably not.
We've got 5 sites. So this, if we take care of, wait a minute, 1, 2, 3, 4 sites. Because one runs between the 2 roads. We got 3 on county. Because one of the ones on county is between Pleasant and county, and then we got one off of county, excuse me, one off of Pleasant, right?
I think there's only 4. It was Kookaburra, Vaught, Ralph Enos, and
Rusty Enos.
Rusty.
Okay, so it appears we have a solution for Ralph's property. Okay. The next simplest one to deal with, I think, is Dr. Vaught's, which we aren't going to do that here today. But my thought is, it's the less complicated of the three remaining. And my concern is that for the big project, DEP's involved, and we're going to be waiting for them. If there's any way that by cleaning up the area that belongs to Dr. Vaught, that we can get water moving and get rid of that pool because of the mosquito problem.
There's a lot of film there.
There is a lot of them.
All right, but we're not going to solve it today. My question is, do you want to break them up into at least three?
Yeah.
We've got one, we think we've got this resolved. All right, we got three left. Of the three left, that property is the smallest of the three problems. Are we in agreement on that?
Yeah.
All right. Then we'll focus on that one next, since we're waiting on DEP for Rusty Enos's property. Mr. Kuchenbauer's property, the whole question relates to the drainage system that evidently was put in, that nobody has a record or a plan of. So those are more complicated. All right, so for the next agenda, when we have this update on railroad bed, let's focus on the Vaught property. We'll have a general briefing in case Lisa has heard from DEP, but we'll have to put some thought into what are we going to ask him to do.
Does he need to be invited?
Yeah, I would, or at least notify him. But since he's probably going to have to get equipment or hire somebody to clean this or draw a plan, is he going to be required to have an engineering plan? Does anybody know?
I would think you should,
Yeah,
because he's gonna get a little complicated.
yeah. Any specific emotion.
Okay, so for the next meeting, we need to think about what it is we're going to ask him to do so that he can start doing it, because he said he'll do whatever he has to do. So if he needs a plan drawn, we need to let him know you've got to get an engineer. This is what is going to have to be done. And once the plan is approved, there'll be, I assume, heavy equipment down there of some sort. Okay, so that's what we'll plan to do. Okay.
And that's for the August.
August 17th.
August 17th, thank you.
Okay, anything new on 520 Marion Avenue? Has anyone responded to the letters?
No one responded, so I'm wondering if 30 days has lapsed, which I didn't ask. Considering that this is a town property, the town property damage, whether or not we should send this to town council.
Okay,
So because it was derived from the Stormwater Committee, I'm not sure if you're accepting motions, but I think it would be appropriate that in 30 days it passes the date of mailing, then we should refer it to town council.
yeah, I'll accept the motion. It should be that we refer it to the town administrator for action by town council, because we can't go directly to him. Okay, so is that a motion?
I'm going to deliver the letter. Can I make a motion?
Well, please publish it, and I will make the motion.
Have a
I leave it
motion?
up to you.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Can I just ask one quick question? Refer to town administrator to defer?
No,
Is that the town administrator to further engage town council? I know what the discussion's going to be.
due to lack of a response,
Town council due to lack of response?
yes, from the two parties involved. The other thing too is, quite frankly, if we have to take legal action, that should be part of the damages that they're gonna have to pay for. Mr. Ferry,
So the letter didn't really ask for a response, it just notified.
no, it did. It said to respond within so many days.
So regardless, I think we still want to take care of something with it without it.
Say that again?
Where I'm sitting, I'd like the system repaired, with or without it, instead of getting repaired.
Okay, so when this gets referred to the town administrator,
Let me read the last two paragraphs of the letter, and I help. You severally and jointly are further notified that all costs, including but not limited to engineering, legal costs, removal of concrete with residue, repairs, construction, reconstruction, and costs to the highway department, will be assessed to and borne by you individually and jointly as the case may be. You are both urged to contact me within 10 days of receipt of this letter. Should you choose to ignore this notice, the town will take any and all appropriate action to recover the costs incurred to repair, replace, and public property that has been damaged and or destroyed.
Is that legal? Sorry, is that certified?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
70181127.
okay, so I will send an email to Mike telling him what we voted to do, telling him that what we want to do, obviously, is turn this over to legal counsel. And that you want to start, you want to plan repairs to this because they're not responding and you want to get it done. And that Mike should get in touch with you about information to get an idea of what it is you want to do. And
I would imagine we want to fix it for winter and have a chance to have vegetation and grow for winter.
So, still in discussion?
yes, we are.
Yes.
So I attempted to reach out to a company to do a thorough inspection of the system, including subterranean components. And I did find a company that did it, but basically wanted me to jointly inspect with them. And I don't think I should do that. So, because I'm a member of this committee. So that's why I haven't engaged that company yet.
You can meet with him though. Even though he's on the committee, it's his turf anyhow.
Well, I think any inspection that you do, I think the other parties should be notified of when it's happened, so they have the right to be there too, because they're gonna want to see what the damages are themselves also.
That's a good point.
You know what we can do? We'll schedule a site visit. That way, anybody that wants to go out there to see this, that way you're not in conflict with anything, because it's just a site visit of the Stormwater Committee. So you can get all the information and everything else. Mr. Ferry can do whatever. It's gonna fall to him anyhow. If you're around, whoever's around, we'll do a site visit to the area of around 520 Marion Avenue. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna let Mike know ahead of time about, we want to refer it for legal action and that we're scheduling a site visit if he wants to go with us. Okay, so,
Site visit is gonna be when they schedule 10-5 inspection.
It's a third party inspection.
And we'll have to notify the two other parties. I think the homeowner should probably be made aware of it too, probably.
Okay, that sounds good.
okay, so Ross, when we get a chance, if we figure out what all these dates are and who's gonna do what and what's gonna happen, let's get a site visit scheduled sometime before our next meeting.
Give everyone now. We'll say it in like four.
All right, so I will send that email to Mike, request legal action. And advise him there will be a site visit. And once we set that up, if that company wants to send a rep. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. Mr. Agia? Excuse me, Mr. Ferry?
Aye.
Mr. Pilling?
Aye.
Nancy Goulart tonight, vote unanimous. We sort of touched on agenda item 3E, report on 2371 County Street site visit by DEP. So
2371.
2371. Okay, 2371 County Street. So, Mrs. Caledonia, would you just add a little bit to what you said? You're waiting, you contacted,
They have drafted documents. They have not heard back from Mr. Mitchell or or his client, and they're planning a internal meeting, I think, to involve me. So that's the next step.
So we just put this on for the next meeting for further update.
yes, please.
Sounds like they're really swamped.
Well, they're down getting in touch now too, right? So,
I don't know, we said a site visit I was at a couple weeks ago.
well, they must have hired us a consultant.
Okay, review this is 3F, review, discuss, act, 2040 County Street. There's a lot going on County Street, it seems. Okay. Is there anything to report on this? This is where the trucking business is, and you said that they would flag the wetlands.
Yeah, which is what they've done. I mean, the plan, so they flagged the wetlands, they found the notice of intent with us for the flagging and the restoration. The plan that they found with us really doesn't show any new work at all. And I have them, of course, give a copy of all the commissioner.
What's the concon due on this next?
Reviewing it.
Public hearing.
Yeah, public hearing.
So the next step is a public hearing?
Correct.
Has that been scheduled?
Yeah, that's going to be the 21st as well.
July 21st? Okay, so put this one on for the next agenda, please. We'll have an update at our, not the next meeting, because it's after our meeting. We'll have an update at the August meeting for 2040 County Street.
Can I make a motion that we take 4B out of order?
Yes, please. We have a motion to take agenda item 4B next. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Sagia, Sperry,
Aye.
Pilling, Nancy Goulart's and I. Okay, you're on.
They have reached out to me way back there. My letter, they had infiltration basins on site originally, and based on the fill that's in the bottom of the basins, they're not infiltrated. So they want to change the design to be detention basins instead of infiltrating basins. So this will mean 200,000 gallons of water that was normally originally approved design to go into the ground. They now want to let flow out and down the ditch down the side of Brook Street. They have asked, the engineer wants to basically sit down at a table and talk about this and try and figure this out, because it doesn't appear that they want to remove the material and bring in good material at the bottom of the basin. I have not yet had an opportunity to reach out to that engineer to schedule that meeting, but I would very much like somebody else to be in the room with me while I'm having that meeting.
I have an email. It must have come in over the weekend. I quickly looked at it. It's from Ahmed Hafez. They want to come down and do a site visit. He was hoping to get it done, believe it or not, last week or this week. And I said, no, it's a short week. People are on vacation. People are coming back. They're going to come back to swamped. So I'm not scheduling a site visit. So he's asking if we can schedule a site visit before we have the next meeting. So it can be on the day of the meeting. I just question the value of another site visit. I told him to listen to the audio recording of the meeting, and either he can't find it or he doesn't like what he heard. He wants Mr. Prasad to come with him. As I gotta tell you, as far as meeting with the engineer, I think it's a waste of time. And quite frankly, the guy we should be meeting with is the guy that created the problem, because the company that hired him is not making him do the job he agreed to do.
Well, he was on that email, so Nick Fassendale, the design engineer, and tell him, want to sit down with me to discuss how his email came to me. They want to talk about how to resolve this.
I may.
Yes, go ahead.
So I want to get the facts straight. They want to abandon the original design. They want to propose a new design, which does not disturb the existing basins. They want to add X amount of flow, regardless of what that number is, downstream to wherever that may go, eventually to the river.
Or
So,
to the wells, I think. Doesn't have to the wells first. Yeah.
okay, to a zone 2, which is nitrogen sensitive area, which makes it worse. And they want to do all this while meeting with you individually in a room. How does this not go back to a public hearing?
Also, in my opinion, this is a modification of their site plan approval from conservation and planning. Would have to go back to both of them to approve it and come back in front of this board for approval.
Yeah, all three, and maybe even back to the, no, you're right. I can't fathom the rationale behind it. I really can't.
Mr. Ferry. Plan number 2, it's gonna dump all that water into your roadside, I'll put it that way.
It's a similar situation where obviously, we're not the hold up, and we don't want to be the hold up. And the work that needs to be done is that it begins to heal before winter also. Coming quick.
I think she's concerned with the ditch down the side of the road.
Yeah.
If we dump all this extra water in it, I don't know if the pipes under the driveways have the capacity to handle all
Right,
this water.
so the question is, do we entertain the systems that we're asking?
Any comments you have on what they want to do?
This is why it has to go back to a public hearing. You have to do all the hydrostatic calcs.
Yeah.
You have to see if the infrastructure downstream can
The
handle.
flow has to be more without.
So the argument, the regulations say that you can't increase the rate of flow. So, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but say it was 20 cubic feet per second coming off that site before, they can allow up to 20 feet per second after. But there's no regulation on the volume. So they could have an increase in volume, but as long as the rate stays the same, it's allowed.
So that's why they're trying to use the intention.
Yes.
Control the degrees.
So they're just gonna control the rate by the pipes. The issue is this, though, it's a matter of, we already approved this plan with the rate reduction and an increase in infiltration. So they're asking for modification of the approval.
Which requires them to get new permits or major modifications. So I want to make sure I understand this because I'm a very simple person. You're going to alter the infrastructure as permitted, as approved, as constructed, although constructed incorrectly, to a new system. And that system is going to slow the water down enough so that it meets the pre-existing, pre-construction outflows. So on paper, it all looks good. But then we're stuck with the real reality of additional flows downstream, of potential for standing water, because I'm sure the invert's not going to be at the bottom of the basin elevation. So we're still going to have standing water issues, which is what you're concerned about, we're all concerned about. So how does Dayton end up on the right side of stormwater management in all of this?
I don't think we do, which is why the letter I wrote last time basically said, hey, we gotta look at this. So this basin is a flat bottom. They want to put in drains underneath it to drain the water out. So it's below the bottom of the basin for the pipes. So they don't want any water in this basin ever.
Above the stump level? That's where the pipes are
It would
gonna
be
go?
in the stumps, or they would, yeah, somehow it's within the top 6 inches. They're gonna regrade the basin here a little bit in order to get it work the way they're looking for, but.
And those pipes are gonna relieve the, and I know this is early, but I'm sure you know that. This is gonna relieve the amount of runoff from a 100-year storm to the point where it won't top over the basin.
I don't remember if it doesn't overtop.
Or run over the ditch.
I don't see how that's body of water is gonna be, it's gonna be handled.
I believe some of it is running over the top and out, but,
So we have.
so you gotta remember, I never reviewed the initial drainage calculations here. That was done by the third parties, Planning Board and Conservation Commission, but what I'm seeing now just, it's completely different from what they have.
Still not all infiltration.
No infiltration. They removed that component of the drainage design.
Which changes everything. Getting back to what you said about not getting this thing done before winter or whatever. Quite frankly, had they done it correctly, we wouldn't have this discussion. Had they stopped stalling us repeatedly about why those basins were overflowing, they were silting up. We're gonna get the silt out. We're gonna get this. We get a heavy rain, they overflow. Well, we're gonna pump it. They have created the problem and the delays. The town of Dayton hasn't.
They're also required to stormwater permit to have inspection of the bottom hole of the drainage basin. And they never called for inspection.
There never would have been an inspection if we hadn't insisted on it and you made them dig it up. Now, you said they're gonna be working in the basin, the one that's full of ground up, whatever in the bottom. Well, it seems to me if they're gonna work in the basin, just keep digging, dig all that stuff out of there and put the right material in there and create a basin that works.
Here's another problem. That was all organic material that were in the basins from the site. There's a combination of spoils and organic matter. So we, as a stormwater committee, are responsible for making sure that stormwater infrastructure is maintained for years to come.
Correct.
There's going to be decaying of that organic material, which means the basin itself is not going to stay in its current status. It over time will decompose and will start to cave, so to speak. So how do we put a price tag on that? The stormwater bonding.
Well, it would definitely have to change, if we allowed it, it would have to change the bond, but just like when they said, hey, can we just put a bond down and fix it afterwards? We don't know what it's gonna take. You're right.
This is the unidentified problem. Well, now the problem's been identified, but the unknown dollars that went with the unidentified problem, they knew at the time they made that offer what the problem was. But they didn't come up with the dollars. That's why I made the remark, what, 2 or 3 months ago? We've got an unidentified problem that you want to put an unidentified amount of money on a bond on it to fix it. Well, if you don't know the problem, how are you going to fix it? Well, in the meantime, we found out what the problem was and everything else. The situation is the entire situation, why this thing is not online and producing electricity is, number one, there was the to-do about the basins overflowing. Silt, we got to get the silt out of there. Well, that didn't work. And they kept backing up, overflowing, whatever. In the meantime, the battery issues came up. We got to get this resolved. I said to them, put the batteries aside, get the basin fixed, get online and start generating a product you can sell. No, they didn't do that because they knew what the problem was with the basin and they didn't want to fix it to begin with. The batteries issue not being resolved is just one more thing that they can point to and say, well, we're not online. This is the same thing we went through a year ago when I said to him, put the batteries aside and get the basin resolved. Because if you remember back then, not only was there water in the basin, we were questioning location of panels that appeared to be in the basin, all right? So it's almost like they knew it's not almost like, they knew exactly what the problem was with the basin, and yet they've got this other thing. We got to get the batteries resolved. No, you don't. Get this one resolved. This is the one they would like to just walk away from.
Yeah, I think some of this discussion needs to happen when the applicant is here at a meeting.
I agree.
As opposed to continuing on this, because I know we're kind of rehashing the past and stuff. We're not reaching any decisions or anything, but I think we're in the realm of meeting.
So do you want to do a site visit, or do you want me to notify Mr. Harpez that we see no need for another site visit? That the next meeting is going to be the 20th of this month, if you would like to attend.
I personally don't see a need for another site visit. I think it needs to happen on camera, at a table, we talk this out.
There's nothing new out there to look at.
I'm not- Fix the basins or go for a public hearing. That's what I'm.
I could stand by that. What do you think?
We're gonna have to, they have to change the calculation.
Like big time.
Okay, so I need someone to make a motion to have me notify Mr. Hafez that the committee declines site visit, and that the next meeting of the committee is February 20th, 1 p.m. here, and it will be an agenda item if they wish to attend.
Are they being invited here or are we zooming so they can?
I'm just gonna let them know when the meeting is. They can figure out if they want to come here or if they want to zoom in.
You were suggesting not even inviting to the next meeting, just send them a letter saying, fix it. That's what you're suggesting.
I'm really at a crossroad where I think that decisions are made by them that they either fix it, follow the original design plan. If they don't want to do that and they're proposing a change, which is what Mr. Filling is in receipt of, then go for a new public hearing. Start your permits all over again. That's the process to comply.
All right, I'm not even going to get into that kind of detail. Haven't they taken action, legal action, to appeal the decision of the planning board on something?
Yes.
Okay, that's another reason. As I said, he's asked me for a site visit. I can send an email and say that the Stormwater Committee has declined another site visit. This agenda item will be on the agenda of the 20th of July at 1 p.m. Please advise if you plan to attend in person or by Zoom. Going down there and looking at that hole in the ground again is not going to resolve everything. Everybody knows what's there and what shouldn't be there. And I agree with you. If you want to change the rules, start over.
I'm not ready to make a motion yet. If you allow more discussion, I do think we need to move on, but are you saying that you have not committed to meeting with them yet?
I have not responded to their email, and it's been a significant amount of time because I haven't been here, she hasn't been here, or whatever, but so I have not yet responded.
So
to
I've
any
gotten-
way, shape, or form.
I've got an email since then, because
But-
there's
but
one
yeah,
sitting
you
there
have
this
come
morning.
directly from- Yeah, so Nick Fassendale, the engineer, and Kelly have emailed me directly without I or Nancy on it, and now I've been emailing Nancy.
So are you inclined to meet with them, or what's your feelings?
Well, at this point, I think I'd rather just meet with them at a meeting here on camera in front of everybody, and we just talk it out, because the issue is, do we infiltrate or do we not infiltrate? And I've already said, I want you to infiltrate, and they want to talk about it, so.
So I'm reluctant to agree to the motion open-ended. I am agreeable to invite Mr. Fassino and Mr. Kelly into our 20th meeting so we can have an actual discussion about their proposal. That I'm willing to do. But we need to move this along. If we just keep, and it's no fault of ours, but if this just keeps coming up on the agenda with no progress, we're not getting anywhere. Have them come in, let them present what they want to do. We can discuss it as a committee, and then we can make a decision. If the decision is to send them back to start over, then that's the decision.
Well, part of the issue was I wasn't here on May 18th, and then the June meeting, I just didn't have any time to look at what he had. So some of this is on me. I will take some of the blame, but I've already said we want him to infiltrate. So.
We may be to blame for a few weeks' time in this project since it started, but not months.
Oh, no, I'm just saying that they had reached out on whatever, right before a meeting, like the day of the meeting, whatever. So all I'm getting is, yeah, I think we owe them. I think they should come here in front of us, hear it, and then say, all right, if you want to go down this path and you reopen the hearing and we'll talk about it again, but
I can tell you that during a conversation, a real phone conversation, this was, I'm gonna guess, I'd have to look at my phone at home. The thing is probably still there. I'm gonna guess the third week in June, more or less. I got a phone call from Mr. Saad. And he wanted to know if we could have a meeting and something, I slipped like, it seems to me it was on a Friday night, Saturday. I know when I called him back, it was late and I was gonna leave a message, hey, call me Monday or something. But anyhow, he picked up or he called back. He doesn't want a public meeting. That's why he's looking for a site visit.
Sorry.
So that's why my proposal is,
we need input from one of them. If we need a quorum of members to lay in the input, the only way to do that is
so what I'm saying is, what I'm looking for is instruction. Give me some direction. I sent an email to Ahmed Hafez, telling him Stormwater Committee met today. They declined another site visit. The next Stormwater Committee meeting is July the 20th, 1 p.m., Old Town Hall. You, Mr. Prasad, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Fasendola, and anybody else you want to bring is welcome to attend that meeting. It will be an open public meeting, hosted to meet all the requirements, okay? I don't want to, as I said, when he was talking about this, getting a meeting, I said, no, you can't do that, all right? He says, I know you have laws in the United States. I said, we have laws in Massachusetts. I said that, no, it's not going to happen. So that's why he's now asking for a site visit, because he doesn't want to show up. If they don't want to show up and discuss it, they're the ones delaying it.
So, okay, I understand completely what you're saying. I think we have an obligation now, if they engage Agent Lane, give feedback on the proposal. And I think we have an obligation to respond to that proposal. And that's why I think the response, if this committee is so inclined, is that we consider that a major change and it needs to go back to major modifications for all of the permits.
Can you do that before the meeting of the 20th? I don't have a problem with him responding or doing whatever. However, I still want to send a notice that I just told you. They don't want to deal in public. And I want them to understand, talking to Todd, quite frankly, if Todd came through the door at the meeting and said, hey, I changed my mind, it's all okay, I'm going to the first one that says, why? I don't support any of this. I don't support even looking at those plans because I believe they're worthless, as did the engineer, I think, who put them together. So again, we're getting into an area. I'm just saying, is there a motion for me to notify Ahmed Hafez and telling him that when the meeting is, that there will be no site visit, offer's been declined, and that he can invite Mr. Prasad and Mr. Kelly and Mr. Fasendola and anybody else he wants to come to the meeting. He's got to understand that any conversations that are held prior to that meeting will be discussed at the meeting. In other words, if Todd's going to meet, we want Todd to tell us what he really thinks about the plans.
I'll make that motion.
Roz, I will copy you on this so you can send it out to the committee. All right.
So what I have for the motion is Nancy Bula will notify Mr.
Hafez,
that the committee met today and has declined another site visit. The next meeting will be July 20th at 1 p.m. If they would like to attend, he may invite anyone that he would like to be there. Please advise if he will be attending in person or via Zoom.
that's the motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, Mr. Aguirre?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Clark? Aye, vote unanimous.
Good job.
Do you wish to speak? You heard enough, have you? Agenda item 4A, update Clearway Solar Project 1420 and 1522 William Street. So Lisa, the last thing I heard at Concom would have been, they put out flags and they were supposed to be restoring damaged areas.
Yeah, they actually seeded the areas, but it's a temporary seeding until the fall when they have to plant and just check up.
Oh, there was also an email that talked about something got moved because when I saw it, I said, oh, I gotta give this to Mr. Ferry. This is his turf.
That's what I just passed out to everybody here. This is a section of the plan that refers to the construction exit that was right down by the edge of the street, right at the front of the building. That's where the concrete washout area was. And if you remember, we had to move it back behind the front of the building, so the washout wasn't in front of that building with pedestrians. Well, the construction crew on site feels that it's not a good place for them to be putting their crushed stone in the washout pit, that they want to back it up a little bit. So we told them we had to give us a revised plan. What you're looking at is the revised plan, which shows that they have a primary and a secondary crushed stone entrance that they want to put, one up at the top of the hill and one partway down by the building. And they're going to move the washout pit way up by the top there. You'll see it on the far left.
Where the curve is.
Yeah, right at the curve, like at the top of the hill, where the storage trailer is and stuff like that. So most of the mud that's coming out of the site is going to be from that area where they're going through the wetlands and up in the back. This road has been here for a long time, and I don't think they're going to be picking up a lot of mud as they go down this road. So personally, I don't have a problem with them having it set up this way. It's probably safer for pedestrians this way that are out in the parking lot. But I'll defer to anybody else if they have any other thoughts on it. But I'm okay with this layout.
Mr. Ferry.
The idea is to get clean ties onto the road. I'm good with that. The proposed pavement they went at the end. We want a little longer.
So I visited the site today in anticipation of this meeting. They've already put some crushed stone down in the roadway. They absorbed it amount of it. So I really think that they are going to keep the mud tracking to a minimum, just based on the roadway surface that they've built out back and through the wetland area. They've already put the riprap in that we asked for in the area where the vernal pools are, so that if there was topping over, the riprap would stay, keep the roadway in place. I think they've done an exceptional job preparing the site. So I would support this change. I'm not sure if you remember, but I was vocal early on about having that trap block down by the pedestrian walkway anyway, trip hazard. So I think this is fine.
So it doesn't say like there's no scale on that. I'm assuming that's 20 feet long, that pavement.
I didn't bring the scale up, but it's probably about that, yeah.
Yeah, that should be.
Because I don't think they changed that.
Overlocation of the tire. And it's left. Yeah. Okay.
And know also that our permit basically says that anytime if we think they need more, we just ask for more. So,
We also told them that part of the maintenance plan, they have to do routine sweepings as well.
Yeah, it's swept.
Right, so I think any residual will be swept up anyway.
and they've got you can see the silt sacks and the catch basins out in front of the greenhouses, so. I think they've got it covered. I think they know they have to keep it clean. They know it's a steep slope, that the water's gonna come down. But I think, like I said, most of the mud's gonna come out of the back of the site. By the time they come out this 1,000 feet of road and over these 2 exit paths and everything and over the dirt road that's been there, I don't think they're gonna have too much left on the tires.
And there's 2 turns, which make a difference when you try to put tires on.
Yeah.
So the tires are self-clean. Turns.
Dust would be my only issue, because it is a dusty road, but that's a different issue. That doesn't matter how much crushed stone you put on, you're still gonna have that issue.
So the second rock pile or stretch of stone that I'm looking at, if I exit the store out the front door and turn left, is that stone going to be west of where I'm crossing?
Yes.
By about 100 feet.
Okay,
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost in line with the front of the house. Next door.
the house that's back from the north parking lot?
Yes. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept this modified construction entrance / exit modification.
We have a motion to accept the modification as presented for the second crushed stone.
Well, it's both of them, because they relocated the first one,
Oh,
and they
all
added
right.
the second one, so it's the modification of the construction entrance / exit.
So to approve the modification,
Yes.
is there a second?
Jim Wilson.
Jeez. Now you see why a 6-member committee is.
Second.
Reach over and poke him. You don't need a long stick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Say yeah, Mr. Perry. Mr. Ferry. Mr. Pilling. And Nancy Goulart. Aye. Public input. All of you public out there, I guess the public left.
I guess.
Do you have something?
No, I do not.
Then you're not public.
No, I'm public.
Do we have any correspondence? Oh, what's this folder? This is calendars.
Oh, that is the encumbrance form and the quote is behind it. So I think how Janelle explained it to me, it was that they would need the order would need to be placed and the quote, but it didn't actually have to be in-house for us to encumber the funds.
Okay, so just under public input, I've got some public input. The 500 calendars, 2023 calendars we approved. So we'll have them in early November. From Oil Coastal Advertising. Total amount we're going to ask them to encumber against the current year's budget is $735 for the calendars. The screen setup $20. Set spent $755 plus shipping and handling is $152.05. So we're requesting that they encumber $907.05 against the current budget. So our treasurer there. We afford 907.05.
900?
907, yes, 05.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ferry. So I will just fill this out. I know we discussed it before, we were going to talk about it, but just a note for the in the minutes that we did, that I will fill out the encumbrance form, and that there was just a brief explanation of what the calendars are going to cost. Okay, and obviously we want them here hopefully by the 1st of November. Approval of minutes. May 18th, we don't have. I'm still trying to work through those. So I think we have June 7th. Is there did those go out to everybody?
Yes, I thought you sent them. I apologize.
Could have been.
Yeah, the email I got, I was
Okay.
CC'd.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of June the 7th?
So,
Is there a second?
that's a second, I do have a question, but a second.
Discussion?
So. Discussion about the Tremont Street Solar, the two properties, and the Astor extension. Top of page 2 says, the last line of the top paragraph, with the conditions that they provide a minimum of monthly progress updates to Stormwater community.
So a month has gone by. Do you have anything from them?
No, my question is that what you want written, or is it supposed to be in person, by email, or can we indicate and how that is going to happen, that we're able to go back in the minutes and have something?
Well, I think when we were talking about it, it was based on site visits or inspections or whatever. But that's a good point, simply because a month has gone by. Has anybody heard anything?
Yes.
So it's verbal enough.
I have emails. Chuck's on phone.
Are they filing the building permit? Is that what they're going through right now?
They believe it'll be about 8 weeks. I'll have to go.
Oh, okay, so Mrs. Grassi, under public input, just make a note that Commissioner Aguirre has been in contact with,
This night and Riccio. Is it Nick? Riccio?
Rich.
Rich Riccio? Rich Riccio.
Yeah, Richard Riccio.
Third.
What parent does that?
And that, so we'll consider that the update for the 1 month update since the June 7th meeting.
Yeah, presumably from their point of view, they'd be emailing it over. But yeah, I don't remember specifying how it had to be. Right.
But I think the fact that if we have an oral report or a comment or whatever, and it's mentioned in the minutes each time, it'll indicate we're getting reports, or if somebody says, I haven't heard anything for 6 weeks, it means we got to get in touch with them and say, well, hey, what's happening? I know from action at the Board of Assessors, the properties have, there's been holdups on the properties because Mrs. Racine initially wanted to take more acreage out than she needed. And then she had to put some back for the house. And then she was going to go solar with this one, but then it was decided no. So I think from an assessor's point of view, as of today, we got it down to the piece of property that truly is going to be the solar farm for both the Racine and the Cabral properties, because we also okayed what the back taxes are on the 2 properties. So I think it's good to go now as far as where they're actually, what's actually going to be a solar farm and what's going to stay under Chapter 61. Other than all right, so we have a motion and a second on those minutes. Is anything else? If not, I'll call the vote. Mr. Aguirre? Aye. Okay, is there anything else we need to do relative, or can you think of anything else we need for the next agenda other than what we've already talked about? Anything coming down the road?
We have a lot on the next agenda.
It's going to depend also of whether or not anybody shows up.
At the next meeting right now, we already have Strawberry Fields update. Pleasant Street drainage, Main Street water replacement, Winthrop Street restoration catch basin, PG solar, Forest Hills, Hunters Hill. We did also receive a filing from Hunters Hill. They dropped off the stormwater permit application, so we have that. So we're gonna have to be scheduling a public hearing and everything for that. But it's not gonna be for the next meeting, but it'll be for the August meeting. But
August meeting, put down a note, a report, update MS4. Because it's got to be filed September.
now, if anybody comes up with anything, just send it to Mr. Grassi and she'll add it on.
Okay, Mr. Ferry, have you gotten anything from the Aggie School on their sweeping and cleanings that's got to go in our MS4?
No,
Do we,
When is the due date for MS4?
excuse me,
When is the cutoff date?
June 30th, it went by.
No.
So would you get in touch with them and say, where's the data?
They wouldn't have it. You do it, right?
No.
Oh, you mean,
What is the Aggie School doing that you used to do, but you're not doing it anymore because they have new equipment or
I
something?
can reach out to them, but I believe that's going to take a year cycle to put that in place from that meeting that we had with them.
So does that mean you're doing it?
I will have to check with them.
Okay,
Just so everyone understands, as of June 30th, as of today, the contractor is still responsible for the site, it's still ongoing construction. So the school isn't 100% responsible for the entire site right
well, the other thing,
Yeah, so since our meeting, they implement that into their budgeting for the next cycle.
would they, on the North Campus, I'm only talking the North Campus now, would they not have to report anything on the North Campus because it's not over and done with yet? So that our report would not include the North Campus for this? All right, so we need to know, did anything happen on the South Campus? Or is the whole campus at this point not reporting for the fiscal year that just ended?
Yeah, and including that, we want that.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. All right. So if you put that down for the July meeting, we'll know what happened or should happen or whatever.
Motion to adjourn.
You have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
now. Second.
All in favor? Mr. Ferry, Pilling,
Aye.
and Mrs. Gulatz and I.
Right.